Well, I'm pretty sure that was a fairly good year. Today's adventure begins at the very top of Lookout Mountain. Hi everybody, welcome back, or if you're new, welcome in. My name's Chris, and at the beginning of the year, I challenged myself to go out and film and put out one video a day, at least for the first week. Well, today is the end of that week. And I thought, hey, there's no better place to begin the day than on top of Lookout Mountain. It's hard to believe that yesterday's adventure took place right down there. You know, doing these daily videos has been fun, but also challenging. I'm looking forward to going back to, every week or so, but I'm also very excited about today. I had to come up here because, well, I began this series with one good view. I had to end with another. Yeah, but up here is just where we're starting this adventure. It's not going to be our final destination. Even if it was the final destination for Buffalo Bill Cody. Yeah, I had to come up here really quick. Just to pay some respects. And yes, he is buried here. His last will did state that he wanted to be buried in Wyoming, but he changed his mind. But quite a few people in Wyoming did not believe him, and they kept trying to steal his body. That's why he's currently buried in concrete. I definitely think this is a perfect place to start today. The little gift shop and restaurant are closed now. Apparently they're undergoing some repairs. Yeah, at least that's what the sign says. Now, I was not going to do the museum because, well, they do charge. Even if it is just a small amount. See, I never said anything yet, but one of the themes this whole week has been free for me. Every single thing has been free for me. The for me caveat being Elitch Gardens. My daughter and I had season passes. But we did not pay to go into or park any place I went to this week. I wanted to show off a whole bunch of things that you could do without having to pay a single penny. Yeah, but then I pulled up, and I saw this sign. So let's go find out if that sign is telling the truth. If so, let's see the museum. Yes, it is in fact free. You just have to check in at the desk. I normally don't film in restrooms, but yeah, there are stories in here. In a little bit, we are going to head up to Central City, but I just wanted to come through here first. I do have another video in here with my daughter. I'll post a link in the description. Central City was one of the many places where he did perform. He did perform twice in our next stop. I just wanted to show off a few of the things in here before we head further on up the mountain. There are quite a few artifacts in here. Even Buffalo Bill knew fezzes were cool. The museum has quite a few artifacts. I'll put some B-roll of that right here. said, this isn't our final stop today. Let's head up to Central City. And after a bit of a drive, I've made it up to Central City. I did take the slightly long way around. I wanted to see some of the construction up in the canyon. They had been working on a little bit more of the trail. Apparently they did finish about half of it, and it is open. The other half is still under construction. And I stopped for a piping hot caffeinated beverage, and to contrast the gas prices halfway up the mountain. Yeah, it's just a very basic coffee in a very basic cup. But it's also a reminder, make sure you fuel up before you head up the mountain. But now that we are up the mountain, let's make a quick stop at one of the places where Buffalo Bill actually performed. This is the Central City Opera House. I believe this is as good a place as any to transition into the next part of our journey. Buffalo Bill did perform here twice from what I saw at the museum. Unfortunately, we can't really go inside today. There are other times, however, when you can. I hope to make it up someday for a show. It's usually only during the summer months. And apparently the little garden out back does have some snow. Well, you know what that means. Yeah, granted, it's supposed to snow tonight, so that's probably going to get covered up before anybody watching this can see it. Yeah, I've already wandered most of Central City in the past. But let's take a quick walk through on our way to somewhere else. Because even though I've been here before, there still is some beauty to be seen. And some history to be learned. You see, both Central City and Blackhawk were on the verge of becoming ghost towns. Fortunately, they were saved in part from the casinos. So let's take a quick walk past those casinos before we head to an actual ghost town. So let's just take a quick walk to the car and then drive up to that ghost town. Granted, walking through this town, it is still quite festive. In fact, I might just have to end this video a little bit later at somewhere that's still a little festive as well. But first, let's head back in the car and drive just a couple minutes down the road. Because although this town and Blackhawk survived, not all Gold Rush towns were quite so lucky. Yeah, just a short 5-minute drive up a dirt road lies the mostly abandoned town of Nevadaville. Yeah, this town was not so lucky. It was once a town of over 4,000 people. At last count, in about 1998, I think about 6 people lived here. And from what I read, that Masonic temple is still in use. It's close enough to Central City for them to have their meetings. Yeah, but let's go on back down the street. Hit that other festive place I had talked about. Yeah, I honestly would have felt a little bit more comfortable walking around there if I was the only one there. There were 2 people working on one of the buildings. So I had decided to head back the opposite way from Central City to the other not-so-ghost town. Welcome to the outskirts of Blackhawk. Yeah, I've honestly never been around to the Gregory Street area. I probably should have came up here during the holidays. But it's a good way to end the holidays, isn't it? Yeah, this would have been an absolute beautiful place to see during the holidays. And apparently there's going to be a brand new mine tour opening up this summer. I'm going to have to come back for that. Well, I'm guessing that's where the mine is. And I see they're constructing something for it. I'm looking forward to that. Let's head on down the mountain just a little bit and see what's over here. Yeah, welcome to Blackhawk. And this little section is located at the corner of Gregory and High Street. Welcome to Gregory Plaza. Oh, it's wonderful to find a place that's still nice and festive to end this week on, but also has quite a bit of history on its own. I have to take a look inside the old fire station, even if it is through the glare of glass. Oh wow, that fire truck is a conversion of a 1935 Chevrolet. That's what it would have looked like before it became a fire truck. And there's another attempted look through the glare. And we got the old fire hose right next to the truck. I'm assuming all of this is open at some point, considering they do have a rope set up. I guess for today we'll just have to peek through the windows. And yeah, it is a very weird feeling walking through here all alone, listening to Christmas music. I almost feel like dancing. It is very much an odd feeling to walk through a little Christmas village all by yourself. Well, ish. There are apparently a couple other people here. And I'm pretty sure this is the last day for any of this. The antique shop down here is actually open, but they do still have the photo ops out, including one that keeps looking more and more familiar every time I see it. I love that this place is still looking festive, and that they have it all lit up during the day. You know, this is one of the few places that I've seen with actual snow behind the holiday displays, as well as some slightly inappropriate holiday displays. Okay then. Right out here is a fine art gallery. I'm not sure if it's open, but I'm not going into any of the businesses today, as much as I really would like to. And actually, all of these shops are open today, including a pizza place. Okay, I'm coming back up here at some point and checking all of this out. Yeah, but now let's take a quick stroll through the rest of Blackhawk. Oh, I hope they never take all these things down, but I know they will. Yeah, let's keep on exploring a little bit, then come back here to wrap up the video, because I am going to have to come back here to get to my car anyway. But first I want to get on down to the train station, see what kind of decorations are happening throughout town. Gregory Street was the home of two of the early breweries out here, Chicago and Excelsior. They were at the intersection of Gregory and Church Streets, which does sound appropriate. Unfortunately, it does not appear to be on the map here, but there is a future building site, and this is all part of the Hard District. Here's a quick look of what that street looked like back in, well, the very early 1900s. And here it is from 1864. I'm pretty sure the elevator does not date back to then. As the church bells play America the Beautiful, I'm going to go ahead and continue on down the road. Here, I believe, is that future build site. But at least the holidays, well, they're still here, even though they haven't built over here yet in this historic town. Okay, yeah, it is a little bit odd to talk about future building in a place with history. But the two can definitely exist together. In fact, that's probably part of what allowed Blackhawk and Central City to survive, when Nevadaville, well, didn't quite so much. The more you embrace change, the more likely you are to survive. Or at least you have a chance at it. Yeah, this was the old post office. Yeah, unfortunately, it, is no more. But who knows, maybe they might be restoring it into something. I hope so. But not everything survives up here. Because they couldn't even keep a recreational marijuana shop open in the site of one of Blackhawk's first physicians. And these buildings over the years housed a barbershop, restaurant, some gaming, but now, well, they do have dipping dots. Yeah, so some places do survive. Let's continue our little walk looking at both history and holiday. Because I'm still only just at the edge of town. Yeah, here, right across from City Hall, the holidays are also still in bloom. Even if somebody did, unfortunately, lose their bid. This is a statue called Wishful Thinking. And, surprise, surprise, the artwork has a bronze QR code. Oh, wow, remember Gregory Street just a few minutes ago? Well, this is what it looked like in 1910 after a flood. And here's what it looked like in 1895 after a flood. The area did flood quite often, apparently. Just a quick look at City Hall before we move on. And I hope they are going to follow Denver's lead and keep these lights up, at least through the end of January. Okay, let me first of all apologize for the sound in this area. At least you don't have to smell it. But I at least wanted to show this little area. They decorated it up like a carousel. That is a very clever idea for a gazebo. They even put some decorations out there in with the other sculptures. This sculpture is called Gold Dreamin'. And well, here is its QR code. And we have a sculpture called Miner and His Burrow by D. Clemens. And, well, you guessed it, QR code. This one does not have a QR code, and wait a second, this looks familiar. This is actually quite a beautiful little place, if it wasn't for the current odor. Before I backtrack over towards that smell, I wanted to come over to a different sculpture. This one is called Courage to Lead. And here is its QR code. I also noticed that somebody left a little bit of change here at the base, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with what we saw with Buffalo Bill Cody. I recall reading something about people leaving coins at Buffalo Bill's grave, and I remember seeing coins there. Yeah, this is the second day in a row I've seen a flurry of activity. It's all over. Yeah, but it looks like they got that crap all cleaned up. So let's continue on down the road. As we walk along, there are these wonderful little displays with some fun facts. That's where I'm getting all the pictures and some of the info from. And of course, I love any display that uses the word sachet. I would have loved to have ridden on that tramway. That looks like fun. But let's keep on heading down the road, even though I actually would like some crackers. And most of the old buildings now are casinos. But even the casinos are nice and festive. And I do love the fact that an old carriage house is now a parking garage. And here's the site of the Gilpin Hotel, now the home of the Gilpin Casino. And here's a bit of what it looked like, well, back in the day. Now, the hotel is actually one of the newer buildings built in 1896. And here you have some of the old plans from the Gilpin Hotel. Another quick look at what this whole place used to look like. Yeah, this shop used to sit on the corner of Gregory and Main back in about 1880. And I have nothing telling me what this door is, but I really have a desire to go through it. Apparently the old buildings are being used for something, at least upstairs, but I'm not sure what. Downstairs it's definitely closed down. At least over here at the end of the block. The casinos are, well, up that way. And here's a picture of an old saloon that was unfortunately demolished. Well, with whatever's going on, I hope everybody's going to be okay. I honestly think every emergency vehicle in town is out here. And I'm just going to walk past this and head on down the road. Yeah, best to give whatever that is some space. Let's get back to some history. Hey, remember that mine I showed you earlier? One of the ways Blackhawk survived back in the early days before the casinos was the fact that it was a railroad town. Now I am on my way over to the old railroad station, but I'm pretty sure what I'm standing in front of is the old mill. At least that's what it looks like to me. Now it's a Bally's Casino. Unfortunately, some of these buildings don't actually have plaques on them, so I can't really tell what their history is. I still just love looking at them. Okay, maybe this building was the old mill. I don't know, but right across the street from it is the old railroad station. Yeah, remember when I said this was a railroad town? This is the old railroad station. And now that railroad station is the Lady Luck Casino. Yeah, the town may look a bit different now, but it also kind of looks the same. Yeah, I was hoping for some history on the railroad. Instead, I did get history on a fire from back in 1873 that devastated the area, but somehow spared Blackhawk. And of course, that wasn't the only fire. There were quite a few over the years, including another in 1880. But although they don't have a plaque in front commemorating what this building was, they do at least leave part of its memory alive. Apparently, this locomotive was built in Philadelphia in 1898. And it is a beautiful way to welcome people into this side of the town. But now we've reached the very end of town, so let's go ahead and start heading back to that Christmas village. We'll go ahead and wrap up the video there. This has been a fun but long little journey. I definitely have a few thoughts as this week begins to wrap up. Now, this last week, being able to adventure has been both a privilege and a pleasure. You know, I had a full week off from my regular job, and the weather was just perfect. So how could I not? Tonight, we are expecting a couple of inches of snow to start. And it's also back to my day-to-day. I'll try to get a video up once a week, but I can't make any guarantees. My schedule is quite hectic. I hope if this week has taught people anything, it's that you should go out and explore just a little bit more. You never truly know what's out there. And I also want people to remember that New Year's resolutions are achievable as long as you keep them small. Yeah, this was kind of a 2-for-1. Do this 1 week of filming and get out and exercise more. I kind of need to lose a little bit of weight. So that's why pretty much everything that I did was free and involved a lot of walking. In fact, tallying up my steps for the week, I am at 63,930. I know it's not quite Disney numbers. Hopefully those will come later this year. So as I start to wrap up this video, I want to thank you all for joining me. Whether it was your first time or if you've been here since the beginning, it's all been a journey for me. I picked up that camera about 2.5 years ago, not knowing what I was doing. I just jumped in with both feet, and I've been learning ever since. You know, I'm not a monetized page, so every view is actually important, and so is every like. So please, make sure you like, subscribe, all that other fun YouTube stuff. Wait a minute. He's behind me, isn't he? Now, although this week's adventures have all been free for me, I will be getting back to a few other types of adventures in the weeks to come. So I hope you come back for some of those. He's behind me again, isn't he? Well, I guess if you can't beat him. Thanks for joining, everyone. Good night, everyone.